Good day, everyone! I am Captain Glenn, and welcome to our humble community, Barangay MP. I am here together with my other kabarangays, helping you to know the perspective, theories, principles, and concepts on social work community education and training, which consists of learning concept, models, theories of learning, anti-oppressive social work, principles of community education, inclusive education, Gender and Magna Carta of Women pertaining to education and training, and the gender perspective and harmonized guidelines comprehending the objective setting, module making, selection of women as trainees, and selection of topic on gender mainstreaming. So everyone, come with me. I will tour you in our community. Let's visit our barangay hall, which helps you to understand first the concept, models, and theories of learning. We'll find out who do we have here.
Thank you, Cup. And hello there, everyone. I am Leia May Parilla together with other barangay officials, Miss Ayap, Miss Kanha, and Miss Lizano to enlighten you about the concept, models, and theories of learning. So, let's go! Learning is a process of continuous acquisition of information, knowledge, and skills that leads to change. So, sinasabi na learning is a process. So, hindi siya one-time event lang. Learning is a process means that through method, effort, focus, and practice, we can get a lot better at gaining expertise. Another thing is that when we think of learning, minsan ang unang pumapasok sa isip natin is yung formal education na nakukuha natin sa school from the moment na nag-aral tayo. Pero yun nga, sinasabi na learning is an ongoing process and it takes place through life, so hindi lang siya nakapaloob sa apat na sulok ng classroom. Ni Mark Twain, never let formal education get in the way of your learning. And that's the essence of lifelong learning. When you're in a constantly evolving world, it requires you to level up or you get left behind. As humans, we have a penchant to evolve, learn new skills, habits, or hobbies. Our ability to learn is in it. It depends on how we utilize this knowledge. Lifelong learning can enhance our understanding of the world around us, provide us more and better opportunities, and improve our quality of life. When we observe any change in a person's behavior, we can say that learning has taken place. So how do learning change us? It helps us to build opinions and have our own point of view on different things in life. Learning also helps us in increasing confidence in various ways like communication, decision-making, meeting challenges, receiving feedback, and improving self-confidence. When we have the opportunity to learn and develop ourselves, we are given the tools to become more resourceful, to effectively handle job responsibilities, and grow to be able to face more challenging situations. Take note that the process of learning is not always the same. Learning can happen in a wide variety of ways that will be discussed later on. But first, let us see the context of learning in the community.
So what is learning in communities? It gives an individual an environment and a framework to organize around a common objective. They connect systems, organizations, and individuals who are willing to work together and learn beyond borders, all the while holding participants accountable to a shared goal, set of performance measures, and set of achievements. So what does learning in community do? Number 1, it connects people. Learning communities bring together change agents from different fields, disciplines, and locations to network, share knowledge, and benefit from one another. Communities can collaborate both physical and online. Number 2, it sets goals. Participants in these communities are brought together by shared objectives, change theories, and practice areas. Number 3, it enables learning. To increase collective knowledge, communities share knowledge that is gained from both successful and bad experience. And last, it distributes leadership. A learning community's size enables it to provide a variety of leadership roles and opportunities for skill development. So, what is the importance of learning in communities? Learning in communities benefits a lot of sectors through access, relationship, vision, and function. It gives a sense of belongingness and trust to each participant while they share their own vision and common goal. And lastly, they function well inside the community where they shared practice.
And now, let's move on to the models of learning.
There are two models of learning community, which the top-down and bottom-up model. The top-down model is a process where professionals allows by community residents to provide leadership and services that support an externally created development plan. It involves the top-down mentality that presents the use of professionals' leadership by external resources in planning, implementing, and evaluating the community development programs. Ibig sabihin lang, yung process of learning in the community ay nagsisimula sa leadership ng mga practitioners na kung saan itong mga residents ay open sa pagkatuto where they adopt the teachings na nakuha nila dun sa practitioners so they can provide enough capacity to support the services in the community. At sa paraan din ng leadership, nagbibigay ito ng kamalayan sa mga residents para makabuo ng isang konsepto na makakatulong sa pagkakaroon ng maayos na mga resources sa kanilang community. And through the process of following the learning external of leadership, there will be changes happen within the community resident perceptions, behavior, and the standard of living of them as the implementation of the programs in the community will also change.
The next model is the bottom-up model.
A process features that creates partnership between community, residents, and professionals that whom provide technical support rather than leadership. It provides structured participation in community-wide discussions, improve opportunities to learn, and sense of empowerment that comes with knowledge, which necessary precursors to accomplish the stated and implied goals of community. Dito naman, set aside yung leadership as a process of learning, kundi yung connection and participation ng practitioner at ng residents ang focus ng learning dahil nakikita sa connection yung ninanais ng community residents at practitioner na makapagbigay sila ng peer support without hardly thinking the leadership na ipinapakita nila individually as they work together to achieve the real purpose why community exists. At doon naman sa participation, andun nga yung partnership na tumutukoy sa kakayahan ng community residents and practitioners na makabuo ng isahang desisyon na agree ang lahat, yung natututo silang pareho, meron silang naiaambag na kalaman, yung involved sila sa pakikilahok sa mga activity na meron ng community as they preserve the mutual learning and relationship to expand the learning opportunities, to have a comprehensive participation, and to have an efficient decision-making practices. And there are common set goals of two models. One, to affect changes in community residents' perceptions about how to improve their standard of living. Two, to create community-oriented behaviors that are based upon the changes in community residents' perceptions. Lastly, to improve the standard of living among a majority of community residents.
And now, let's move on to the theories. Here, we will present the four theories: the action learning theory, the adult learning theory, the social learning theory, and the transformational learning theory. Action learning theory is a learner can acquire knowledge through cooperating with peers to resolve situations or problems inside the environment or inside their group. And by that, they are not just developing their skills and knowledge, but also the members inside the group. Action learning theory is a method for coming up with innovative answers to difficult issues that affect individually, in groups, and in organizations. It entails taking action to address an issue and then assessing the success of that action. So the goal of action learning theory is to start a conversation about finding a solution. So cohesion will be created as a result of the procedure and will serve a foundation for the organization's success. The next theory is the adult learning theory. In this method, learning experiences are created by first acknowledging the distinction between adults and children. For instance, learning experiences are developed under the presumptions that adults have their own unique set of life experiences and motivation that can direct their own learning, that prefers to learn best through practice and will want to apply what they have learned as soon as possible to the real-world circumstances. This is important because it frames how instructional designers approach programs. The features of adult learners can help learning programs to be more focused and long-term successful.
Hi mga Karampi! I'm Crystal, and here we go to the continuation of our learning theory. So we have here the social learning theory, First, let's have a brief intro for its proponents. So, social learning theory was founded by Canadian psychologist Albert Bandura in 1977. Albert Bandura conducted a series of experiments at isa nga dito ang sikat niyang bobodal. So, the result of these experiments showed that children can be influenced and can learn from observing the behaviors of others. Now, let's define what is social learning. So, in simple manner, social learning theory, learning is by observing other people. For example, by social learning, we use this technique to adapt the behavior at learning ng mga taong successful in order na maging successful din tayo. In short, we're imitating their actions and behaviors. So, to sum it all, the social learning theory shows that how behavior observations play an important role in shaping knowledge, behaviors, and attitudes. In social learning theory, we have three important components: the observation, modeling, and imitation. We observe the actions and behaviors of many people around us, and that is observation. These people being observed are called models. Those models are people we may look up to, and consequently, we copy their behaviors and action. In short, we're imitating them. So, hango rin ang isang kasabihan dito na, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. So, social learning theory can use to encourage and teach desirable behaviors through the use of positive reinforcements and rewards. So, for example, sa barangay, ang mga residente na mas active sa pagpaparticipate ay makakatanggap ng mga benefits. Ma-observe ito ng iba, so it will encourage them to participate na rin. So, another one is for teaching. Of course, hindi lang naman ito purely observation. Pwede nating magamit ito, ang social learning theory, sa pagtuturo. Or, in other way, i-demonstrate ang mga bagay na gusto mong imitate or i-adapt ng isang tao. So, para mas magawa ito, we can use the four elements ng social learning theory. So, the attention, retention, reproduction, and the motivation. So, another one is the motivation. Actually, dito, educator mismo can motivate the people sa pagpapakita ng confidence, ability to carry out the task, and of course, motivating them na kaya rin nila if they will try. So, lastly is for the collaboration. Gaya ng sabi kanina, learning takes place through observation. So, by observing their peers, by sharing ideas, talents, and skills, it can have many benefits. So, to sum it all, social learning theory shows that how observation plays an important role in shaping the knowledge, behaviors, and attitudes of one person. And here we go na mga ka-MP to our last learning theory, and that is the transformative learning theory. But before that, kilalanin din muna natin who is the proponent of this theory. So, ang transformative learning theory was founded by an American sociologist, Jack Mezirow, on 1975. So, now let's proceed on what is transformative learning theory. So, first, let's define the word transform, which means to change or shape. So, with transformation, we're not building something new, unlike with social learning theory that we discussed prior to this. Instead, we're changing something that already exists. Kumbaga, meron lang tayong binabago. So, transformative theory in simplest manner is the idea that can be changed, or we can change the firmly held beliefs or perspectives when presented with new information. Sa theory na ito, makikita natin how people change into something different than before. They tend to change dahil sa mga factors, and that factors may include new learnings. So, for better understanding, let's proceed to the next slide. So, according to Mezirow, ang mga bagong learning nila at dati ng mga kaalaman ay ina-evaluate nila to have their own new perspectives or worldview. Kumbaga, they're making sense of both old and new learnings to come up or change into something different than before. So, this theory is much applicable in adult learners and young adult kasi nga, what are you going to transform in children if they do not have prior experiences or they do not yet discovered their skills? And here are some benefits of transformative learning theory. First is give chances to learn about new perspectives. Dahil nga transformative learning ito, we give new learnings wherein makakapag-gather sila ng information that somehow makakapag-influence sa kanila into their perspectives. So, another one is help to identify and question their assumptions. Dito, they will critically analyze their assumptions sa pag-share din ng mga example ng mga stories, maaari mag-reflect sila about their perspectives and ma-compare sa mga bagong nalaman. So, and the last one is to create opportunities for critical discourse. Dito maaaring magkaroon ng sharing about about their experiences. So, they might embrace other thoughts and experiences.
Now that we're familiar with learnings, let's go with Purok Pagkakaisa to comprehend the next topic and we'll share their knowledge about it.
Hi Kap! Good afternoon po. Welcome po pala sa Purok Pagkakaisa. Salamat po at pinaunlakan niyo ang aming imbitasyon na makadalaw. Nga po pala Kap, dito sa aming purok, may layunin ang isang grupo na ma-recognize yung mga pang-aapi na nag-i-exist dito sa ating lipunan and attempts to lighten its effects and eventually equalize the power imbalance in our communities. Narito nga po pala mga kapwa ko ka-MP. Ito nga po pala si Ashnia, Princess, Jenny, and yours truly. Dito nga po pala Kap, pinapalaganap po namin ang mga impormasyon tungkol sa anti-oppressive para maging aware yung mga tao dito sa Purok Pagkakaisa. Ano nga po ba ang anti-oppressive? Oppression has more than one form. It refers to a social dynamic in which particular ways of being in this world, including specific ways of identifying of being identified, are being normalized or privileged. In contrast, other ways are disadvantaged or marginalized. Forms of oppression include racism, classism, sexism, terrorism, anti-Semitism, ableism, colonialism, and other incism. Now, let us know the term anti-oppressive education, which is pervasive and encompasses approaches to education that actively challenge different forms of oppression. Anti-oppressive education aims to challenge multiple forms of oppression. Maraming paraan upang i-educate ang mga member in the community. Some contradict or criticize others. Hindi na to bago. Isang educators at research had been coming up with theories and practices para labanan ng mga oppressions na ilang taon na pumapayagpag. Each of these theories and practices has its pros and cons. Based on this tradition, sa field ng anti-oppressive education, nagkakaroon ng harang barriers between feminist, critical, multicultural, queer, post-colonial, and other social justice movements as the field of anti-oppressive education moves forward. Hanggang ngayon, patuloy na kuni-question yung mga ideas at methods by looking for new insights. It does this because it's known that any approach to education, including its own, can make some changes possible but not others. Anti-oppressive education is based on the idea that many common approaches to reforming education conceal oppressions that must be resisted. Dahil dito, mayroong mga strong desire to alter how we think about and participate in many aspects of education, from curriculum and teaching to school culture and activities to institutional structure and regulations. Maybe more crucially, what arises in profound dedication to exploring viewpoints in education that do not correspond to what has become common sense in education. Maraming roles to play in anti-oppressive education. Halimbawa nito, teachers, administrators, counselors, teacher educators, community members, students, and other members of educational communities na may iba't ibang role to play in challenging oppression, enhancing education.
What is anti-oppressive practice? Anti-oppressive practice is one of the central social justice-oriented approaches in social work, but nakapokus sa inequality, fairness, success for all. Anti-oppressive is na-recognize niya yung mga oppression. Pag sinabing origin of oppression, ito yung hindi tamang paggamit ng power or authority ng isang tao. Inequality or cruel yung paggamit. Basically, pag sinabing anti-oppressive practice, approaches siya ng social work kung saan nakatuon ang pagbibigay solusyon or strategy on how to eradicate kinds of oppression in our society. Parang sa approaches po na to is inaalam niya saan ba deeply rooted yung mga ganitong klase ng oppression and ano yung mga ways and strategies sa pag-deal sa mga yon. It recognizes the structural origin of oppression and promotes social transformation by utilizing theories including feminist, Marxist, postmodernist, and anti-racist theories. Feminist theory kind of anti-oppressive approaches which in general have the purpose disestablishing system of power and oppression. Binibigyan karapatan ang mga women in society na magkaroon ng boses. Postmodernism kind of anti-oppressive approaches reject the notion that the interests and outlook of the working class or any other group constitute the basis liberation of all people. Anti-oppressive practice recognizes that multiple forms of oppression can occur simultaneously within micro, meso, and macro levels that uniquely impact marginalized people and communities. Anti-oppressive is na-recognize niya yung mga different forms kung saan nag-o-occur yung oppression. Kasi di ba ang study ng practice na yan is about unequal treatment. Ngayon, dahil sa unequal treatment, nakikita dito yung mga different forms kung bakit nagkakaroon ng oppression. Kaya nagkaroon ng anti-oppressive practice para mawala yung oppression or unequal distribution, treatment, and access lower authority sa community, na kung saan madalas natin makita sa micro, meso, and macro levels. Ibig sabihin, pwede nating makita ang oppression na tinatawag unang-una sa micro. Ito yung within the family or first environment. Meso, ito yung second na nakakasama. For example, dito is yung meso, ito yung second na nakakasama, for example, sa school, friends and mga teachers, and yung macro, yung mga cultures. Dito kadalasan nakikita ang oppression. At dahil dito, nagkaroon ng impact sa marginalized people or community. Ito yung mga nasa laylayan or mababang sektor ng lipunan or tinatawag na lower class na mga tao. Sila ang kadalasan na nakakaranas ng ganitong situation kaya ginamit ang practice na ito para matanggal ang mga oppression na nararanasan. Anti-oppressive practice also promotes a deep reflection and development of a critical consciousness. Ang ini-aim nito ay magkaroon tayo ng kalinawan or ma-recognize natin yung oppression na mayroon sa community natin. Ito nga ang mga thought natin sa mga inequality. Kasi kapag nagkaroon tayo ng understanding, magkakaroon tayo ng contemplation and yung expansion, development within ourselves. Ibig sabihin, may awareness na tayo sa kung ano ba talaga ang mga hindi patas na gawain at ginagawa ng iba sa mga taong nasa laylayan.
So let's proceed into anti-oppressive principles. According to Clifford, 1995 has formulated the following anti-oppressive principle which provide the foundation for a social work assessment that is theorized and empowering. So the first one is social difference. Social difference arises as a result of a power imbalance between the social groups that are dominating and being dominated in terms of race, gender, class, sexual preference, disability, and age. The main division are described. The concept and experience of oppression is a complex issue due to the existence and interaction of additional factors such as those related to religion, region, mental health, and single parenthood. Next is the linking personal and political. In understanding the personal and political, the everyday life experience of individual need to be located within social, cultural, political, and economic structures, which are historically and geographically specific. This process is allocation ensures that in practice, the individual is not pathologized and weight is given to the interconnection and interaction between the individual stories and the social system they encounter. The next one is power. In practice, powers can be seen to operate at the personal and structural levels. It is influenced by social, cultural, economic, and psychological factors. Power is essential to understand how the differential access to power shapes and determines relationship on an individual, group, community, organizations, and societal level. Next is historical and geographical location.
It is individual life experience and events are placed within a specific time and place so that these experiences are given meaning within a context of prevailing ideas, social facts, and cultural difference. Last is reflexibility or mutual involvement. Reflexibility is a continuous analysis of how power, socio-economic class, and values influence how people interact with one another. So this relationship must be understood in the term of sociology, history, ethics, and politics in relation of psychology.
Number 1. Critical reflection on self in practice. Si social work ay may karakter na politika. Merong power si social work to occupy a position of power and privilege via their access to resources and hierarchical structure of the social services sector. Dahil nga si social work ay work very closely sa tao upang malaman at maintindihan yung mga isyong panlipunan, kaya si worker ay expert sa pag-formulate ng policy. Itong policy formulation instrumental and effective in making it people policies to getting the resources accessible by the marginalized section of the society. Therefore, napakahalaga para sa mga social worker na maging critically reflexive upang maiwasan ang muling paglikha ng mga oppressive social relation in practice. Number 2. Critical assessments of service users' experience of oppression. Ang pagiging isang critical social workers ay nag-strive pa na mas maintindihan yung diversity and multiplicity of oppression in service user lives. Personal, cultural, and structural processes each shape individual problems and the access they have to solution. Critically analyzing the intersection of oppression, such as gender, class, and race, allow us to understand how macro-level policies, discourse, and process impact service user lives. Similarly, this critical analysis must also be turned inward to understand how social work discourse and language used in framing of problems can contribute to sustain oppressive power structure. Example, disturbed at risk.
Number 3 is empowering service users. The empowering service user is one of the central tenets of anti-oppressive practice and strive to create empowerment process both at the interpersonal and institutional level. Number 4. Working in partnership. Anti-oppressive practice prioritize working in partnership with service users through collaborative effort that position the service user as the expert in their own life. This is achieved through a deliberate sharing of power and a commitment to transparency where the service user has the full information and awareness of the circumstances to make decisions in their best interest. Working in partnership attempts to balance an equal power dynamics by working against hierarchical structure to create a supportive environment where the service user is able to access the necessary resources and information to work collaboratively with a social worker. Last is minimal intervention. Utilizing anti-oppressive practice in social work means minimizing opportunities of social control by strategically intervening in the least of intrusive way possible in the service user life. Early intervention and on emphasize preventive service contribute to minimal intervention and less disruption in service user life.
Now, let's proceed to limitation of anti-oppressive practice. While AOP is committed to challenging and dismantling system of oppression and increasing understanding of structural context that we are all embedded in, it does present some limitation. Working from an anti-oppressive framework without a critical consciousness ay maaaring mag-create ng circumstances for complicity and contribute to oppressive practice in social work. Kaya bilang critical social worker, napakahalaga na marami pa tayong magawa, hindi lang yung simpleng bagay na ilalagay yung position natin sa kalagayan nila at yung effort on the right side of social transformation. We must take political and ethical stances, pero gawin din natin ito sa paraang mas ma-recognize that we and our stances have been shaped by the very legacies that we are struggling against. Isa rin sa limitation of anti-oppressive perspective in social work ay yung kakulangan ng focus sa micro o individual level. AOP should entail social worker addressing the needs and assets of service user, challenging the oppressive social structures, and most importantly, critically challenging the power dynamics in the service provider-service user relationship. Critical consciousness challenge social worker na magkaroon ng knowledge at maging aware sa power differential and how this differential may inadvertently make social work practice an oppressive experience. Anti-oppressive practice values the contribution of community and institutional change process in achieving broader social change. Alam naman natin na ang isang role ng social worker ay social activist. In positive way, in good way. Hindi naman kailangan na pag-activist ka ay tungkol na sa disruption and disobedience, especially sa profession ng social work na may malalim na kaalaman tungkol sa iba't ibang issue ng lipunan. They work to discover sa paraan upang hubugin yung mga policy at hamunin at impluwensyahan ang politics. Social worker embody principles of social justice, activism by working na hindi lang sila mabigyan ng social services yung mga nangangailangan, but also to raise the consciousness of those they are working with. Mailabas pa yung mga problema at upang maintindihan how social inequality and structures of oppression na nagpapakita ng disadvantaged life circumstances in areas like housing, employment, healthcare, and education. According to Haley 2014, provide a link to link social work theories and values with practice, utilizing critical practice principle.
Thank you for that very informative discussions. Anti-oppressive is truly one of the central social justice-oriented approaches in social work na kinikilala talaga ang pinagmumulan ng mga oppressions or ng mga pang-aapi at may layunin ito na mabawasan ang pagbubukod-bukod ng mga certain groups from social equality, rights, and justice na akma din sa nilalayo ng social work professions. Now, let's go to the next purok mahinahon.
Hello everyone, good day. I hope you have smile plastered on your faces. And Kap, oo nga pala, dito sa aming purok, mayroon kami mga prinsipyo na kung saan mahalagang maunawaan ng bawat tao sa community. And we are Purok Mahinahon. But before we start, let me introduce myself. I am Laika Vanessa Mapili, together with my kapurok, Sunshine Cristal Ventura, Ivy Monica Bianya, and Marjorie Bernabe. Our topic is about principles of community education. Community education promotes the creation of a learning environment that provides learning opportunities for all members of the community. Community education provides local residents and community agencies and institutions the opportunity to become active partners in addressing community concerns. It is based on the following principles. The first is self-determination. Local people are in the best possible to determine what they need and want and should be empowered to make decisions that affect them, their families, and their communities. Self-determination involves many attitudes and abilities including self-awareness, assertiveness, creativity, problem-solving, and self-advocacy skills. To take charge of your own life, you must be able to set goals, evaluate options, make choices, and work to achieve your goals. Since self-determination skills are most effectively to develop by practicing them, students with disabilities should be given the opportunity to use their self-advocacy, decision-making, and socialization skills well before they leave high school to prepare themselves for working and living in their community. Next is localization. Services, programs, and events and other community involvement opportunities that are brought closest to where people live have the greatest potential for high levels of public participation. To the degree possible, such activities should be decentralized to locations of easy public access. Ibig sabihin, madali magkaroon ng access dito yung mga tao sa lugar nila since local ang pinag-uusapan. Katulad na lang ng mga services, programs, and events. Kaya rin sinasabi dyan na greatest potential for high public participation kasi nga local lang siya, inside the community lang. Pag sinabi namang decentralized, meaning yung mga activities na ginagawa pag localization, ang naghahandle nun ay ang mga local officers like barangay, LGU. Next is self-help. People are best served when they have the capacity to serve themselves. People should be encouraged to assume ever-increasing responsibility for their own well-being, thereby building independence and interdependence rather than dependence. Isa ito sa pinakamahalagang principles kasi sinasabi na dito mas magiging mahusay ang kanyang paglilingkod kapag maayos ang kanilang sarili. Kumbaga, kapag meron kang potential, skills, especially education, meron kang kalayan sa iyong responsibilidad sa halip na umaasa ka.
So let's proceed to the other principle, which is integrated service delivery. Integrated service delivery, it is an organization and agencies that operate for the public good, can better utilize their limited resources, meet their own goals, and better serve the public through the proactive involvement of their respective constituents, as well as through active cooperative and collaborative relationships with those other organizations and agencies with related purpose. It means that ang mga organisasyon at ahensya na nagpapatakbo para sa kapakanan ng publiko ay mas mahusay na magamit ang kanilang limitadong mga mapagkukunan. Kasi 'di ba, they use their connections in other agencies or organization to meet their own goals para mas matugunan ang kanilang sariling mga layunin at mas mahusay na paglilingkod sa publiko, especially sa pakikilahok ng kanilang mga nasasakupan, lalo na't pakikipagtulungan sa iba pang organisasyon na may kaugnay na layunin. For it to be successful, this collaboration and coordination must be underpinned by the attitude and values and have a good relations between organizations and agencies, whether it is national, provincial, and local government are essential. Integrated services can be delivered in many forms depende sa extent ng interaction and sa scope of support. Integration of services can happen via cooperation or communication among service providers, collaboration among professionals across different sectors, the physical or virtual collocation of complementary services, or a mix of these. Integrative services cover collaboration, where it is refers to agencies working together through information sharing and training and creating a network of agencies to improve service user experience by sharing knowledge, agencies, and organizations. It can improve the referral process to other services offered by the center. The more knowledge professionals have about the different services, the better. Needs-based recommendations are available to service users. Next principle is maximum use of resources. It is the physical, financial, and human resources of every community must be interconnected and utilized to the fullest if the diverse needs and interests of communities are to be met. In this principle, dapat na magkakaugnay at magamit ng lubusan kung ang pangangailangan at interes ng ating community ay magkaiba na dapat tugunan. But we should use these resources like human, physical, and financial. Let's include the natural resources. We should use this in proper way kasi 'di ba, hindi naman lagi available ang iba't ibang resources na kinakailangan ng tao. That's why the government must do all they can do to mobilize with their community.
Let's proceed in the next principles of community education. Inclusiveness, the segregation of people by virtue of age, income, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, or other factors inhibit the full development of the community. Thus, community programs, activities, and services should involve the broadest possible cross-section of community residents. It is the separation of people depending on their age, income, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, or other factor that can stop the development of the community, so that everyone in the community can be part of the programs that is suitable for them and that no one would be left out. Another principle of community education is the institutional responsiveness. Public institutions have been created to serve people and they have a responsibility to develop their respective programs and services around the continual changing needs and interests of the people they serve as defined in consultation and collaboration with those they serve. Ginawa yung mga public institution to serve people and they have a responsibility to develop the programs and services. They are giving and offering people despite the continuous changes in the needs of the people, and they can do it by doing consultation from the people they are serving.
The second to the last principles is lifelong learning. People learn from birth to death, and both formal and informal learning opportunities should be provided for people throughout their lives in a wide variety of community settings. Sinasabi dito na ang mga tao ay natututo mula sa kanilang pagsilang hanggang sa kanilang kamatayan. Whether pursuing personal interest and passion or chasing professional ambition, lifelong learning can help us to achieve personal fulfillment and satisfaction. It recognizes that humans have a natural drive to explore, learn, and grow, and encourage us to improve our own quality of life and sense of self-worth by paying attention to the ideas and goals that inspire us. For example, in childhood, we learn to talk or ride a bike. As an adult, we learn how to use smartphone or learn how to cook a dish. These are examples of the everyday lifelong learning we engage in on a daily basis, either through socialization, trial and error, or self-initiated study. And the last principle is leadership development. The identification, development, and utilization of the leadership capabilities of local citizens is a prerequisite to the full development and empowerment of any community. Thus, all community education effort should incorporate a leader development strategy. Sa isang community, mahalaga na mas mapaunlad pa ang kaalaman ng mga namumuno nang sa ganon sila ang maging gabay upang magkaroon ng kaalaman ng kanilang nasasakupan. Because according to Baldwin and Ford 1988, the success of leadership development is influenced heavily by the quality of the program, level of support and acceptance from superiors, and the characteristic learning style of the person being developed.
Yes naman po sa principles of community education that is similar to social work principles like the principle of self-determination, which the individual or the client has a capacity na ma-identify yung mga pangailangan niya within the community. Thank you, Purok Mahinahon, sa mahinahong kaalaman. Ngayon, tutungo naman tayo sa isang purok na kung saan ang edukasyon ay pinag-uusapan. Purok Bagong Sibol.
Hello Cap! Hello everyone! I'm Gerdy Galapon together with Miss Elvisa Filiarca, Miss Joanne Sirna, and Miss Adrian Joy Valmonte. We are honored to welcome you to our Purok Bagong Sibol. Madaling salita, ang inclusive education ay pinahahalagahan ang pagkakaiba at ang matatayang kontribusyon ng bawat mag-aaral sa silid-aralan. Ang isang tunay na inclusive na setting, ang bawat bata ay nakakaramdam ng kaligtasan at may pakiramdam ng pagiging kabilang. Ang mga mag-aaral at kailang mga magulang ay nakikilahok sa pagtatakda ng mga layunin sa pag-aaral at nakikibahagi sa mga desisyong nakakaapekto sa kanila. At ang kawani ng paaralan ay nagbibigay ng suporta na tumutugon sa pangangailangan ng bawat isa. But also, we want to let you to know this inclusive education is not developed or proposed to our Purok. It is based on the Article 14, Section 1 of Philippine Constitution. It clearly states that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels of education, and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. As one sector of society, we are committed and dedicated to participate because we believe that children need love, nurture, and support of their families. They need to feel that they are accepted and belong to their societies. They need an expertise of trained educators and staff, and they need a support from the assistance of government. To further enlighten you about inclusive education, here it is. Inclusive education is defined as a learning environment that promotes the full personal, academic, and professional development of all learners, irrespective of race, class, color, gender, disability, sexual preference, learning style, and language. We, the Purok leaders, would like to let everyone know that our Purok can be proud when it comes to providing an inclusive education. Dahil naniniwala kami ng lahat ng tao, especially bawat bata, ay may karapatan sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa buhay tulad ng pagkain, tirahan at damit. Higit pa sa nabanggit, sila rin ay may physiological na pangangailangan na kailangan tugunan. Ito ay ang responsibilidad ng mga magulang kasama ang buong suporta at tulong ng Estado upang mabigyan ang mga bata ng isang kalidad na edukasyon. In inclusive education, inclusion is the more important factor because being included with a group or structure had high possibilities that all people, especially children, develop a sense of belonging and become better prepared for life in the community as children and adults. According to Steinbach 1990, inclusion was defined as education of all students in regular classes, appropriate educational program for every student, and everyone is accepted and supported. In that way, inclusion can be promoted.
Now, I will be discuss the aim and objectives of inclusive education. First, education for all. Second, protection of rights. Third, identification of skill. Fourth, development of social consciousness. Fifth, to prepare for new challenges. Sixth, development of brotherhood. And last, is to improve equality education. Therefore, inclusive education is a fundamental and human right. It serves as a key to unlocking doors, expanding Europe, and enjoying more freedoms. Next is the 7 principles in inclusive education. First, teaching all students. Second, exploring multiple identities. Third, preventing prejudice. Fourth, promoting social justice. Fifth, choosing appropriate materials. Sixth, teaching and learning about culture and religions. Seventh, adapting and integrating lessons appropriately. This means the 7 principles are the basis of community to proceed from one situation to another. These are relevant for the governing of action and the operation of the techniques and any field of education. True principle explain the process of education. These show how things are done and how educational outcomes are achieved.
Now, it's time to be discussed the concept and scope of inclusive education. Concept of inclusive education includes all students who are away from the education for any reasons like physically or mentally challenged, economically, socially, deprived or belonging to any caste group, gender, and etc. In short, inclusive education supports the rights of all types of people who do not have access to education by any means. And for the scope of inclusive education, a well-thought-out inclusive education program has the potential to meet the diverse educational needs of all children, such as street children, working children, children with disabilities, indigenous people, and other children who are beyond their capacity for solutions to meet their needs when it comes to access in education. Moreover, inclusive education promotes the importance of learning, skills training, and other opportunities that concerns on the rights and responsibility of every individual in the community.
Significance of inclusive education. 1. To fulfill the constitutional responsibilities. Nakakatulong ito sa pag-provide ng equal educational opportunities to all learners, kabilang ang may mga disabilities. By embracing the basic schools and educational institutions can create more inclusive and equitable learning environment, foster positive attitudes towards diversity, and prepare students for life in a diverse and interconnected world. 2. To enable children to stay with their families. It keeps families together by avoiding the separation that can happen when children with disabilities are placed in special schools or institutions. For example, ang separation na ito ay maaaring magdulot ng significant stress or hardship sa mga families. Then, maaaring kailangan nilang mag-travel ng mahaba para bisitahin ang kanilang mga anak o marasan mga financial difficulties as a result of the cost associated sa institutional care. Sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng inclusive education, ang mga pamilya ay maaaring manatiling magkasama at suportahan ang isa't isa, which can improve the well-being of both children and parents. 3. For the development of healthy citizenship. It promotes healthy citizenship by fostering yung mga interaction and collaboration between students with and without disabilities. Nakakatulong ito sa pag-build ng empathy, understanding, and a sense of belonging, which are important for the development of healthy citizenship. 4. For achieving the universalization. It is significant for achieving the universalization of education because it promotes the idea that all individuals, regardless of their abilities, have the right to a quality education. Kapag ang lahat ng mga bata or individual ay included sa education, ano man ang kanilang mga kakayahan, sila ay tratado ng may dignity and respect, and their human rights are upheld. 5. Developing feelings of self-respect. It is significant for developing feelings of self-respect because it promotes a positive self-image and helps students to feel valued and accepted for who they are. Kapag ang mga students na may disabilities ay kasama sa mainstream education, mayroon silang opportunity to form relationship with their peers, participate in class activities, and receive a quality education na tumutulong sa kanilang mga individual na pangangailangan. Nakakatulong ito sa pag-build ng kanilang confidence and self-esteem and reduce yung mga feeling of stigma and isolation na maaaring mag-result sa exclusion. 6. For the use of modern technologies. The use of modern technologies for all students, regardless of ability, enabling them to keep pace with technological advancement, allowing them to access information, communicate, and enhance their learning outcomes. 7. For social equality. It is significant for social equality because it upholds the right to a quality education for all, breaks down social and attitudinal barriers, ensures that education is equitable and responsive to the needs of all learners, and promote the principle of social justice and non-discrimination. And 8 is self-reliant. By empowering students through education, these opportunities help to build their skills and abilities and their confidence they need to succeed in life. Proceeding is the essence of inclusive education in social work. Social workers play a crucial role in promoting inclusive education both inside and outside the school, working closely with teachers, families, and communities to create inclusive learning environments. Social workers advocate for the rights of students and raise awareness in the wider community about the importance of inclusive education and the benefit it can provide for all students. And social workers working in inclusive education must equip with various skills and attitudes to assess children's needs and to develop or frame effective intervention to support them. Finally, social workers can help to monitor the implementation of inclusive education, identify barriers to inclusion, and to develop strategies to address these barriers.
Thank you for that enlightenment of learnings about education, Purok Bagong Sibol. Ang edukasyon ay sisibol sa karapatan at karunungan ng lahat. And let's move on again to the next Purok, Purok Bagong Landas. Let's see what they got.
Hello everyone! Mabuhay! Welcome to Purok Bagong Landas. Magandang araw po, Kap, at ganoon na rin sa ating mga ka-MP. Our Purok is here to discuss the Magna Carta of Women pertaining to education and training. But first, let me introduce our Purok member. I am Monica Celesta, together with Dani Lagisma, Diana Bego, and Arieli Espino.
The Magna Carta of Women aims to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women through policies that recognize, protect, and promote women's rights. The law aims to empower women by bridging the gap caused by gender-based distinctions that restrict women's participation in social, economic, political, and cultural development of the Philippines. This is in the line with the provision of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that all human beings are free and equal in dignity and rights.
The Magna Carta of Women is a true human rights law for women that aims to end discrimination. The way to end violence against women is to ensure full implementation of RA 9710, Magna Carta of Women. Our goal is to promote equality, empowerment our women, and recognize their role in the society. All people have rights to participate in information katulad na lamang ng decision-making processes na kung saan makakaapekto ito sa buhay nila and to their well-being. We've also worked with partners to develop a non-formal educational curriculum against violence. We need to empower our women and the marginalized sectors and make them advocates Magna Carta for women. As we all know, there are women who are being abused, violated, and disrespected.
The Philippines has maintained its place among the top 10 countries in the world in terms of gender equality. To achieve women's empowerment in the Philippines, the government adopted the Magna Carta of Women in 2009. So, inadapt ng government ang Magna Carta noong 2009 upang matulukan ng diskriminasyon na nararanasan ng mga kababaihan and also to promote the rights of women, as well as to establish the Philippines' commitment to the principles of Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women's Committee and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Equal access in elimination of discrimination against women in education, scholarship, and training. This includes revising educational materials and curricula to remove stereotypes and images and outlawing the expulsion, non-admission, prohibiting enrollment, and other related discrimination against women.
Good day everyone, I'm Diana, and let us now proceed to the 8th slide of our topic discussion. The Magna Carta of Women also spells out every woman's right. First and foremost is the protection of every woman from all forms of violence. It is the most crucial right for every woman since Magna Carta of Women is created because of the violence that every woman experienced and suffered in our country. Also the rights of women to have the opportunities to participate on trainings and recruitments in government services that cater women's victims of gender-related offenses. It assures as well that every personnel of the government that involved from the protection of the rights of every woman have a mandatory training about human rights and gender sensitivity. The next slide is all about Women and Gender Institute. Women and Gender Institute aims to achieve women's empowerment and gender equality in society. It creates different programs and trainings, services to empower and support every woman. So, si Women and Gender Institute po ay isang institusyon para sa mga kababaihan, na ang institusyon po na ito ay specialized for advocating women's rights and gender equality. It is established to empower women and eliminate different kinds of violence against women. Women and Gender Institute also provide different kinds of training programs like leadership training that enhance their skills to promote women's rights and gender equality. The next is the Mid-Year Training Institute. This mid-year training po is for the commitment to teaching and lifelong learning ng gender-related theories and practices. And target po ng training na ito ay ang mga schools and governments at iba pa. Ay para i-promote at mapag-aralan ng iba't ibang topics na related sa advocacy ng Women and Gender Institute. Ito ay para magkaroon ng knowledge about sa iba't ibang uri ng training program. Sa gayon ay magkaroon at madagdagan ang kanilang kaalaman to promote empowerment and eliminate gender biases para sa mga kababaihan.
Education and training of women. Ano nga ba ang kahalagahan ng edukasyon? So kapag sinabi kasi natin ang importance ng edukasyon, it says it provides stability in life and it's something that no one can ever take away from you. Sabi nga nila, ito lang ang tanging yaman ng bawat isa na hindi makukuha sa'yo. About education and training women, sabi dito, education is a human right and an essential tool for achieving the goals. Syempre, unang-una yung equality, yung development at peace. So if we have a non-discriminatory education, like for example, noong Spanish colonization sa ating bansa, ang mga kalalakihan lang yung pwede mag-aral. But of course, pinaglaban yon ng kababaihan because they know they have also the right and educations. That's why noong 1863, doon in-establish ang first ever educational system sa Pilipinas na kung saan pwede mag-aral ang lalaki at kababaihan. So equality access and attainment of educational qualification is necessary if more women are become the agents of change. At the same time, educated women benefit entire societies because they make substantial contribution to flourishing economies and improve health, nutrition, education of their family. Education and training can play a significant role in changing harmful and discriminatory gender stereotypes that promotes or condone violence against women and girls. The society in which we live has been shaped historically by males. The policymakers have consistently been male, and therefore, it is not surprising that our society reflects those biases which exist as a result of this male domination. Male domination, it is a social system na kung saan yung mga kalalakihan yung nag-hold ng power and dominate roles in social, economic, or political. They feel superior and have power and influence over women in the society. Kaya nga maraming kaso ng violence against women noon because women have no power against male superiority. But with education, it served as the training ground for the equality and gender discrimination. Education is a human right and an essential tool for achieving the goals of equality, development, and peace. On the other hand, training is essential for women to attain gender equality and become leaders of change. So yun nga, sinabi na ang education ay human right at essential tool sa isang society para magkaroon ng equality, development, at peace. But at the same time, it will serve as the training ground sa mga kababaihan to become leaders of change. As an example for that is, if we still remember, Cory Aquino is the first female president of the Philippines. Doon lalo na patunayan na female can also lead the society. At that times, lalo lumakas yung women empowerment ng mga kababaihan. And when Cory became the first female president, dumami na yung mga laws and programs to support and to uplift women rights and women empowerment. So one reason why Cory became the first female president is also because Cory has an education background. That's why it says education can play a significant role in change.
Kababaihan nga naman for the empower na. Salamat sa Magna Carta. Thank you Purok Bagong Landas for the depth information about women. As we were about to come to the end of our discussion, may we listen carefully and understand the next discussion that will express by Purok Kakaibay.
Ay Kap, magandang araw po pala. Buti po't nakadalaw kayo sa aming Purok. Welcome to Purok Kakaibay.
Good morning everyone. I am Regine Timinia. Our topic is all about God perspective and harmonized God guidelines. We are Purok Kakaibig. My team members are Ronela Ann Cumia, Eliza May Española, and Erisa Joy Mudok. So let's start with the first one, Ronela Ann Cumia. She discussed the objective setting.
Objective settings. The gender perspective focuses particularly on gender-based differences in status and power and considers how such discrimination shape the immediate needs, as well as the long-term interests of women and men. As a development approach, God seeks to equalize the status and condition of the relation between women and men by influencing the process and output of policy making, planning, budgeting, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation so that they will deliberately address the gender's issues and concern affecting the full development of women. In general, the gender perspective aims to raise people's sensitivity to the implication of gender inequality and demands that problems with gender discrimination be identified and overcome. It focuses particularly on gender-based differences in status and power and considers how such discrimination shapes as the immediate needs as well as the long-term interests of women and men.
Interpersonal growth and gender in groups. Gender awareness. For example, women are expected to take care of family or domestic duties and remain close to home. All men are expected to work and earn money for the family. Women usually do more housework than men. Gender-friendly organizational development. Organizational system. This includes advocacy and communications to foster partnership and mobilize inclusive, nimble financing that can meet the changing educational needs of girls, boys, women, and men. Gender-responsive community development. Gender and program planning and monitoring. So, a gender-responsive community is one that promotes gender equality, gender sensitivity, and gender-fair education. Training of trainers, facilitator training and workshop. It helps women and men to understand the role gender plays and to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary for advancing gender equality in their daily lives and work.
Gender bias in recruitment is the inclination to favor a candidate due to gender prejudice. It's a huge issue in hiring and can sadly affect all stages of the recruitment process. If the right precautions are not put into place, employers and hiring teams are the risk of discrimination and gender inequality. Ang bias ng kasarian ay isang pinakamalaking issue at nakakaapekto ito sa pagkakaroon ng discrimination at hindi pantay-pantay sa pagtingin pagdating sa kasarian. Harmonized guidelines for women's rights advocates in government and non-government organization, as well as national and local government. Leaders who adhere these commitments. The gender development GAD approach is a necessity. It has been proven that any effort towards sustainable development requires the participation of women and at all levels of policy making and family implementation. Harmonized GAD guidelines, ito ay ang karapatan ng kakababaihan sa organization ng gobyerno. Dito kailangan ng partisipasyon ng bawat isa para sa paggawa ng patakaran upang sa ganon ay magkaroon ng halaga ang mga babae. For example, noong unang panahon, walang alaga ang mga babae. Lalaki lang yung binibigyan nila ng pansin dahil lalaki lang yung may karapatang magtrabaho. Hindi katulad ng mga babae na nasa bahay lang.
Gender mainstreaming is a strategy for developing policies, legislation program, project, society, and community development. Plans from gender equality perspective in order to benefit both women and men. Ang mainstreaming ay isang diskarte para sa pagbuo ng mga patakaran, batas, programa, proyekto, lipunan at mga plano sa pagpapaunlad ng komunidad mula sa pananaw ng pagkapantay-pantay ng kasarian upang mapakinabangan ang kababahian at kalalakihan. Gender mainstreaming is a strategy for achieving gender equality, a strategy to end gender blindness in development process, ensures women and men, girls and boys have equal access to control over resources, opportunities, and benefits at all levels. Ito ay isang diskarte para makamit ng pagkakapantay-pantay na kasarian. Ito rin ay isang paraan upang wakasan ang gender blindness sa proseso ng pag-unlad. Tinitiyak ng mga babae at lalaki na may pantay na pag-access at kontrol sa mga pagkakaunawaan, pagkakataon at benepisyo sa lahat ng antas.
Kakaiba nga naman talaga ang God. God will make the women and men benefit equally in policies, programs, and projects in all social, political, civil, and economic spheres that will change the perspective and status in community and society. Thank you, Puro Kakaibig! Thank you everyone for your cooperation. We've witnessed how the community have contributed their time and effort to share to us their knowledge.
Hope you learned and apply the knowledge we shared to you. Thank you for watching.